The attack came out of nowhere. One moment, the vehicles were driving through the desert at sunrise. The next moment, the front truck exploded in flames and flipped over. You could still see the smoke from the rocket launcher hanging in the air. The team leader's voice cracked through the radio as bullets rained down on them. All units, shoot back and find cover. Petty Officer Jasmine Reed felt her heart racing as she pressed against the medical boxes in the back of the third truck. She was a Navy nurse assigned to the SEAL team for this aid mission. She'd practiced for combat before, but always far from the action, always in safe medical tents, always helping the injured after they'd been brought out of danger. She'd never been in an actual gunfight until this moment. Her driver was yelling into the radio about the first vehicle being destroyed with people hurt and needing help right away. Another rocket hit the second truck. The blast knocked their vehicle sideways. The driver collapsed over the steering wheel with blood spreading across his shoulder. The gunner in the top turret fell down, hit by enemy fire. Jasmine looked out the shattered windows. The SEALs were shooting back, but they couldn't move forward. The first truck was on fire with wounded soldiers inside. The second truck was broken with injured men visible, and her truck's driver and gunner were bleeding. She heard Chief Stone's voice over the radio asking where their medic was. Jasmine pushed her radio button, keeping her voice calm even though her heart was pounding hard. "This is Doc Reed. I'm in the third truck. My driver and gunner are both wounded. Doc, stay hidden. This area is too dangerous. We'll reach you." When another explosion interrupted him. Jasmine watched a SEAL fall down, holding his leg. Then another dropped, hit in the shoulder. She could see at least 5 injured soldiers, maybe more in the burning truck, and she was sitting in the back of a vehicle with medical supplies while SEALs were dying. No way was she accepting that. Jasmine grabbed her medical bag, checked her pistol that she'd been given but never used in battle, and kicked the back door open. "Doc, get back inside," someone screamed over the radio. She didn't listen. She had wounded soldiers to help. That was her purpose. The fact that bullets were flying and rockets were exploding just meant she needed to move quicker. What took place in the next 13 minutes would show that combat nurses don't just save lives from safe positions. Sometimes they save lives while fighting on the front line. But before we show you how a Navy nurse treated 5 badly wounded SEALs while fighting back against enemies, earned her combat medical badge in the most intense way imaginable, and made an entire SEAL team realize they'd never met a medic like her before, drop a comment telling us where you're watching from, and hit that subscribe button. This story shows that the most dangerous person on any battlefield might be the one trying to save lives rather than end them. Now let's jump in. The mission had seemed simple. Drop off medical supplies at a refugee camp 40 kilometers inside the territory. Do basic health checks, then leave before anyone noticed. The SEAL team was there for protection. 12 operators in 3 trucks keeping the medical convoy safe. Intelligence reports said the path was clear. Intelligence reports were completely wrong. The enemy had planned a perfect trap at a narrow valley pass. Rockets from both sides of the road, followed by heavy gunfire from prepared spots on the hills above. The lead armored truck had taken the first rocket straight to its engine. The blast had been devastating. The vehicle had flipped, rolled, and landed on its side. At least 4 SEALs were inside with unknown conditions. The second truck had been hit in the back, destroying the wheels and engine. It wasn't burning, but it couldn't drive either. 2 SEALs were down near it, trying to pull injured teammates to safety. Jasmine's truck had been third in the convoy. They'd stopped when the front vehicle exploded, which meant they were stuck in the middle of the danger zone. She figured out the situation in seconds. Visible injury. Front truck, 4 SEALs. Condition unknown. Vehicle burning. Second truck area, 2 SEALs down. 1 with leg wound, 1 with shoulder wound. Her truck, driver, shoulder wound. Gunner, head wound. Very serious. At least 8 injured, possibly more. Enemy strength. Rocket teams on both hills. At least 2 teams. Gunfire from many positions. Around 15 to 20 fighters. Prepared defensive spots with cover. High ground advantage. Friendly forces. About 8 remaining healthy SEALs pinned behind vehicles taking casualty. No air support possible for at least 20 minutes. Medical supplies. Full combat medical pack in her truck. Extra supplies in other vehicles. Pain medication, tourniquets, chest seals, pressure bandages. Everything she needed except time and safety. Jasmine grabbed her medical bag, secured her pistol in her leg holster, and opened the door. The amount of gunfire was unbelievable. Bullets cracked through the air, hit the vehicles, kicked up dirt everywhere. She could hear the SEALs firing back with their rifles, and the heavier sound of the machine gun from one of the working vehicle turrets. She ran bent over toward the nearest wounded soldier, Petty Officer Jake Morrison, lying behind the second truck with a tourniquet already tied around his left leg. The tourniquet had been quickly applied, probably by Morrison himself. It was working but needed fixing. Jasmine slid into cover next to him, as bullets hit the vehicle above them. "Morrison, how are you doing?" He looked shocked to see her. "What are you doing out here? Get back to your truck. I'm a medic. You're hurt. Figure it out." She was already cutting away his pants, checking the wound. "This is a major artery hit. Your tourniquet saved you, but we need to pack this wound and stabilize you." "Doc, there are guys in worse shape than me." Petty Officer Chen took a bullet to the chest. "I'll reach him. Don't move." She worked quickly, using special gauze to pack the wound, then putting a pressure bandage over it. The tourniquet stayed on, but she loosened it a bit. He'd had it tightened so much he was going to lose the leg if it stayed that way. "Okay, you're stable now. Don't move." "Where's Chen?" Morrison pointed to the far side of the vehicle. "Around there, but Doc, you can't. There's no cover that direction. You'll get." Jasmine was already moving. She crawled around the vehicle, using it for protection from the hill fire. She found Petty Officer David Chen lying against the wheel, holding his chest with blood spreading across his vest. "Chen, I'm here. Let me look." She pulled his hands away from the wound. Chest wound. Right side, bubbling blood. The bullet had gone into his lung, creating an opening that was making it hard to breathe. She worked on automatic, training taking over. Chest seal from her bag, placed directly over the wound, creating an airtight cover. Chen gasped, his breathing getting better immediately, as the seal stopped air from being sucked into his chest. "You're going to be fine," she told him, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. "Chest seal is working. You're breathing easier already. Just stay calm and don't move." A rocket flew overhead, hitting somewhere behind them. The explosion was close enough to shower them with rocks and dirt. Jasmine pressed her radio. "This is Doc Reed. I've got 2 wounded stabilized at Truck 2. I need information on Truck 1. How many injured?" Chief Stone's voice came back strained. "Doc, Truck 1 has 4 inside. We can't reach them. It's on fire and we're taking too much enemy fire to get close." "We need an explosion," interrupted him. Jasmine looked toward Truck 1. The fire was growing, black smoke pouring from the overturned vehicle. If there were SEALs alive inside, they had minutes before the fire reached the fuel tanks. She made her choice in 2 seconds. "Chief, I'm going for Truck 1. "Negative, Doc. That vehicle is about to explode." "You can't. I'm the only medic here, Chief. If there are wounded in that truck, I'm getting them out. Doc." That's a direct. She switched off the radio and ran. The distance from Truck 2 to Truck 1 was maybe 50 meters. In normal situations, a 10-second run. Under heavy fire with an overturned burning vehicle as the goal, it felt like forever. Jasmine ran in a zigzag pattern, making herself harder to hit. Bullets cracked past her. She heard someone yelling at her to get back. But she couldn't stop. She was committed. She reached the overturned armored truck and pressed herself against it. The heat from the fire was brutal. She could feel it through her uniform. She could hear someone inside screaming. The back door was stuck. The explosion and rollover had bent the frame. She pulled on it with all her strength. It wouldn't move. "Someone's trying the door." A voice from inside yelled, "Get us out of here." Jasmine looked around desperately. She spotted a metal bar that had been thrown from the vehicle during the crash. She grabbed it, jammed it into the door frame, and pushed with all her power. The door groaned, moved, but didn't open. Enemy fire was still heavy. Bullets sparked off the overturned vehicle. A rocket hit 30 meters away. She pushed again, putting her whole body weight into it. The door moved more. Third try. The door flew open. Inside was complete chaos. 4 SEALs, all wounded in different ways. Petty Officer James Rodriguez was closest to the door, awake, but with his left arm broken badly, bones showing through the skin. Behind him, 2 more SEALs were unconscious, one with a head wound, one with serious burns. The 4th was trapped under wreckage, legs pinned. "Doc." Rodriguez's relief was clear. "Thank God. We thought, save it. We need to get you out now. This thing's going to explode." She grabbed Rodriguez by his good arm and pulled him toward the door. He scrambled out with her help. "Can you walk?" "Yeah, but my arm." "I'll fix it when we're not about to blow up. Get to cover behind Truck 2. Go." Rodriguez ran, holding his broken arm. Jasmine climbed into the burning vehicle. The heat was crushing. Smoke filled the inside, making it hard to breathe and see. She reached the first unconscious SEAL, Petty Officer Mike Stevens. Head wound, bleeding badly, but breathing. She checked his airway. Clear. She grabbed him under the arms and dragged him toward the door. He was dead weight, maybe 200 pounds with gear. She used every trick she'd learned in training, using her body position, using her legs instead at her back. She got him to the door and pulled him through, then dragged him 10 meters away from the vehicle before going back. The second unconscious SEAL, Petty Officer Tom Wilson, had serious burns on his face and hands. He was breathing but barely. She grabbed him, started dragging. Halfway to the door, he opened his eyes. "Doc, stay calm. I'm getting you out." She got him to the door, out away from the vehicle. 2 down, 1 to go. Back inside. The fourth SEAL, Petty Officer Ryan Foster, was trapped under a section of the vehicle's interior that had collapsed during the rollover. His legs were pinned from the knees down. "I can't feel my legs," Foster said, his voice tight with pain and fear. "You're going to be fine. I'm going to get you out." She looked at the situation. The wreckage was heavy. Part of the turret had collapsed inward. She couldn't lift it alone. She pressed her radio. "I need 2 men at truck 1 now. I've got 1 wounded trapped and I can't move the debris alone." "Doc, that vehicle is going to..." "Now, Chief. I'm not leaving him." 10 seconds later, 2 SEALs appeared. Chief Stone himself and Petty Officer Jake Morrison, limping on his wounded leg but moving. "You're crazy," Chief Stone said, as he climbed into the burning vehicle. "Absolutely crazy. Move over." Together, the 3 of them pushed the wreckage. It moved, lifted. Foster pulled his legs free. Both were broken, but he was free. They dragged him out and away from the vehicle, just as the fire reached something important inside. The armored truck didn't explode like in movie. It just burned hotter, flames roaring up from the interior. But they were clear. All 4 SEALs from truck 1 were out. All alive. Jasmine immediately started sorting by urgency. Stevens was most critical. Head wound, unconscious. Possible brain injury. She applied pressure to the wound, wrapped his head, checked his pupils. Unequal size, definitely a brain injury, but survivable if they could get him to surgery. Wilson's burns were serious, but not immediately life-threatening. She applied burn dressings to his face and hands, gave him pain medication. Foster's broken legs were obvious. Breaks in both shin bones. She made splints as well as she could with materials from her bag and pieces of a broken rifle. Rodriguez's arm was the easiest. A straightforward break of both forearm bones. She splinted it, gave him pain medication, told him to stay still. She'd been working for 6 minutes. She had 7 wounded stabilized, but the gunfight was still going, and she could hear Chief Stone on the radio calling for more help. "Doc," the chief was yelling from behind truck 2, "we've got 2 more down. Enemy pushed closer and we took more casualties returning fire." Jasmine grabbed her medical bag and ran toward truck 2 again. This time, enemy fighters saw her movement. Gunfire tracked her position, bullets kicking up dirt at her feet. She dove behind the vehicle as a bullet sparked off the metal above her. 2 more wounded. Petty Officer Sarah Martinez, with a gunshot wound through her stomach, and Petty Officer Chris Evans with a destroyed knee from a ricochet. Jasmine went to work. Martinez first. Stomach wounds were urgent. She packed the wound with special gauze, applied pressure bandages to both entry and exit wounds, started an IV for fluids. Evans' knee was destroyed. The kneecap was shattered, ligaments torn. She couldn't do much except stabilize it, give him pain medication, and mark him for immediate surgery. 9 wounded treated, still under fire, and she was running low on critical supplies. Chief Stone found her while she was working on Evans. "Doc, we've got a problem. We're pinned down, low on ammunition, and air support is still 15 minutes away. We can't hold this spot much longer, and we can't move the wounded without getting them killed." Jasmine looked at the tactical picture. The enemy was on the hills above them, firing down. The SEALs were behind the vehicles, shooting back, but unable to move forward. The wounded were scattered across the area, unable to move on their own. "Chief, what if we suppress those hill positions long enough for you to flank them?" "With what? We're down to half strength and you've got a machine gun still working on truck 3, right?" "Yeah, but the gunner was..." "Nobody else is trained on IM." Chief Stone stared at her. "You're trained on that? All medics get basic weapons training. I've qualified on it. Not expert level, but I can put bullets down range and keep heads down." "Doc, you're a medic. You're supposed to be saving lives, not cheat. I've stabilized 9 wounded in the last 12 minutes. But if we don't break this trap, they're going to die anyway when the enemy attacks our position, or when truck 1's fuel tank finally explodes. We need to do something aggressive. Let me suppress the enemy positions. You take your remaining people and flank them from the south side. We end this ambush in the next few minutes, or we're all dead." Chief Stone looked at her for a long moment. Then he nodded. "You've got courage, Doc. Get on that gun. Give me 30 seconds to get my people positioned. Then hit that eastern hill. Pour everything you've got into it and make them keep their heads down. Jasmine ran to truck 3. The gunner's body was still in the turret. Petty Officer Daniel Lee killed in the first attack. She pulled him down gently, closed his eyes, then climbed up to take his place. The heavy machine gun was a beast of a weapon. Belt-fed, air-cooled, able to fire hundreds of rounds per minute that could punch through light armor and concrete. It was designed for vehicle and aircraft destruction, but it worked just fine on infantry positions, too. Jasmine checked the weapon. Belt loaded, action clear, sights aligned. She positioned herself behind the gun, gripped the handles, aimed at the eastern hill where the heaviest enemy fire was coming from. She pressed her radio. "Chief, I'm in position. Ready when you are." 30 seconds, Doc. Make it count." Jasmine controlled her breathing. She'd fired this weapon in training but never in combat. The weapon had a learning curve. The kickback was intense. The speed of fire required discipline to control, and the sound was deafening. But she'd trained for this. All medics did, because sometimes saving lives meant taking. "Doc. Go, go, go." Jasmine pressed the trigger. The machine gun roared to life. The kickback hammered into her shoulders, but she held the weapon steady, moving the tracer rounds across the eastern hill. The bullets tore into the enemy positions, breaking rocks, destroying cover, forcing fighters to hide or die. She fired in controlled bursts just like training. 5-second bursts. Adjust aim. Fire again. The tracers showed her where the rounds were going. She moved them across each visible enemy position, carefully suppressing the entire hill. The amount of enemy return fire dropped dramatically. With their heads down, they couldn't shoot accurately. On the southern side, Chief Stone and 4 SEALs were moving. They advanced in fire teams, 2 moving while 2 provided cover. Classic military maneuver. The enemy was focused on the machine gun fire from Jasmine's position, and didn't see the flanking movement until it was too late. The SEALs hit the enemy positions with grenades and rifle fire. Jasmine could hear the explosions, see the enemy fighters breaking and running. She shifted her fire to support the SEAL advance, putting rounds into enemy fighters trying to escape or reposition. The heavy rounds were devastating. Anyone hit by them simply stopped being a threat. The gunfight lasted another 4 minutes. Then suddenly it was over. The enemy was running away, fleeing down the far side of the hills, leaving their dead and wounded behind. Chief Stone's voice came over the radio. "Stop firing. Stop firing. Enemy is running. Doc. You can stop shooting now." Jasmine released the trigger. Her ears were ringing, her shoulders hurting from the kickback, her hands shaking from adrenaline. She just fired about 200 rounds at enemy positions. She had no idea how many she'd hit, but the suppressive fire had been effective enough to break the ambush. She climbed down from the turret and immediately went back to medic mode. Status on wounded. Anyone hit during the attack? Negative. No additional wounded thanks to you keeping their heads down. Air support arrived 7 minutes later. 2 attack helicopters that provided protection while medical evacuation helicopters landed. Jasmine supervised the loading of all 9 wounded, giving detailed reports to the flight medics on each patient's injuries and treatment. The last wounded soldier was loaded. The helicopters lifted off, and only then did Jasmine let herself stop, lean against the vehicle, and take a breath. Chief Stone walked up to her. "Doc Reed, I need to say something." "Chief, if this is about me leaving my truck, that's exactly what this is about. You left your truck against direct orders. You ran into a burning vehicle that was about to explode. You treated 9 wounded while under fire. You got on a heavy machine gun and provided suppressive fire during our counterattack." Jasmine waited for the criticism, for the official complaints about a medic getting involved in direct combat. That's the finest display of combat medicine and pure guts I've seen in 20 years of special operations. Chief Stone said, "You saved 9 lives today. Probably saved all of our lives by breaking that ambush. I'm recommending you for the Combat Medical Badge and a Bronze Star with Bravery recognition." "Chief, I was just doing my job. Your job is to treat wounded. What you did today, running into fire, pulling people out of burning vehicles, getting on a crew weapon to support our counterattack, that was way beyond your job description. That was heroism." The rest of the SEAL team gathered around. Petty Officer Morrison, his leg bandaged, limped over. "Doc, you're officially adopted into this team. Any SEAL element I'm on, I want you as our medic. You're one of us now." The others nodded, spoke agreement. For SEALs to accept a medic as one of us was the highest honor they could give. 3 days later, Jasmine sat through detailed meeting. Command wanted to know every detail. How she'd treated 9 wounded, how she'd pulled 4 men from a burning vehicle, how she'd ended up firing a heavy machine gun in combat. The timeline was rebuilt. Minute 0 to 2, first attack, wounded taken. Jasmine exits vehicle. Minute 2 to 4, first 2 wounded treated, Morrison and Chen. Minute 4 to 10, 4 wounded pulled from burning truck 1. Minute 10 to 11, 2 additional wounded treated, Martinez and Evans. Minute 11 to 13, provides machine gun suppressive fire supporting SEAL counterattack. Total time from ambush start to gunfight end, 13 minutes. The battalion commander reviewed her actions. Hospital medic First Class Reed, in 13 minutes, you treated 9 combat wounded with a 100% survival rate, conducted a rescue operation under fire and provided direct fire support using a crew weapon. This is extraordinary. Sir, I just did what needed to be done. What needed to be done was heroic. The Combat Medical Badge is given to medical personnel who actively take part in ground combat. You've more than earned it. The Bronze Star with Bravery recognition is recommended for conspicuous gallantry. You repeatedly exposed yourself to enemy fire to treat wounded, conducted a rescue operation that saved 4 lives and provided fire support that broke the enemy ambush. The award ceremony was held 1 week later. All 9 SEALs she'd treated were there, recovered or recovering from their wounds. When the commander pinned the Combat Medical Badge on her uniform, the SEALs gave her a standing ovation. Chief Stone spoke at the ceremony. I've worked with dozens of medics over 20 years in special operations. Hospital medic Reed did something in 13 minutes that most medics never do in entire careers. She proved that medics aren't just medical support, they're warriors who save lives while fighting alongside us. She's earned the respect of every operator in this command. After the ceremony, Rodriguez, the SEAL with the broken arm she'd pulled from the burning vehicle, walked up to her. Doc, I want you to know something. When I was trapped in that vehicle, I thought I was finished. The fire was spreading. We couldn't get the door open, and I was thinking about my wife and kids. Then you showed up and kicked that door open like it owed you money. You saved my life. You saved all of our lives. That's what medics do, Jasmine said simply. No, most medics treat wounded after they're brought to safety. You ran into the fight to get us. That's different. That's special. 6 months later, Jasmine was promoted to Chief Petty Officer and assigned as the senior medical provider for SEAL Team 3. She deployed with them on 4 more operations over the next 6 months. On one mission, the team was ambushed again. This time, when wounded started piling up, Chief Stone looked at Jasmine and said, Doc, we need. She was already moving, medical bag in hand before he could finish. She treated 3 wounded while under fire, then got on a vehicle-mounted machine gun to provide suppressive fire while the SEALs maneuvered. After the gunfight, one of the new team members, a SEAL who hadn't been on the original mission, asked the veterans, "Why does our medic fight like an operator?" Chief Stone answered, "Because she earned her Combat Medical Badge in 13 minutes of the most intense combat any of us have seen. She doesn't just save lives, she fights for them. That's the kind of medic you want when things go bad." The story of the fighting medic spread through the SEAL community. Other teams requested her for dangerous operations. She became known as the medic who'd treat your wounds while engaging the enemy, who'd pull you from burning vehicles, who'd get on a heavy machine gun if that's what the mission needed. But Jasmine never saw herself as special. "I'm a medic," she'd say when people called her a hero. "My job is to save lives. Sometimes that means treating wounds. Sometimes that means pulling people from burning vehicles. Sometimes that means providing fire support so the team can win the fight. Whatever the mission requires, that's what medics do." Jasmine's actions in those 13 minutes changed how the Navy viewed combat. Medic training was updated to include more aggressive combat scenarios. Medics were given more extensive weapons training. The expectations shifted. Medics weren't just medical support. They were key members of combat teams who could fight while saving lives. Her action report became required reading at Navy medical training schools. Instructors would tell students, "This is what a combat medic looks like." Hospital medic Reed didn't wait for the fight to end. She went into the fight, treated wounded, conducted rescues, and provided fire support. She saved 9 lives and helped break an enemy ambush. That's the standard. The 9 SEALs she saved that day all stayed in contact with her. They called her Doc with a level of respect that went beyond rank or role. To them, she wasn't just their medic. She was the warrior who'd proven that medical personnel could fight as hard as any operator. Rodriguez, the SEAL she'd pulled from the burning vehicle, named his daughter Jasmine in her honor. "You gave me the chance to meet her," he told her at the christening. "Seemed only right to name her after the person who saved my life." The SEALs never saw a nurse fight before Jasmine, because most medics operated from field hospitals. treating wounded after they'd been taken from combat zones. That was the traditional role. Stay safe, treat wounded, save lives from behind the line. Jasmine proved there was another way, that medics could go into the fight, operate under fire, treat wounded in the middle of combat, and even engage the enemy when necessary to protect their patients and teammates. She earned her combat medical badge in 13 minutes. That included treating 9 combat wounded, with 100% survival rate, conducting rescue operation in burning vehicle, providing heavy machine gun suppressive fire, operating under continuous enemy fire, executing combat medicine at the highest level. The SEALs learned that day that their nurse wasn't just medical support. She was a warrior who saved lives while fighting alongside them. Hospital medic Chief Jasmine Reed proved that the most dangerous person on the battlefield might be the one trying to save lives, because she'll run into fire to reach you, fight through enemies to treat you, and eliminate anyone who tries to stop her from keeping you alive. That's what combat medics do, and Jasmine did it better than most had ever seen. 13 minutes, 9 lives saved, 1 combat medical badge earned, and a lifetime of respect from every SEAL who watched a nurse become a legend. 30 years later, Hospital Medic First Class Jasmine Cross, daughter of Petty Officer Liam Cross, and namesake of Chief Jasmine Reed, stood in the desert treating wounded from her own SEAL team, after an ambush strikingly similar to the one 30 years earlier. She'd just pulled 2 wounded SEALs from a burning vehicle. Her hands were covered in blood, bullets were still flying, and she'd made the same choice her namesake had made 3 decades before. The mission required her in the fight, not hiding behind cover. As she worked on a chest wound applying a seal while bullets hit around her position, she heard her team leader's voice. "Doc Cross, you're just like the original Doc Reed. Same guts, same refusal to quit." Jasmine Cross looked up from her patient, sweat and dirt covering her face. "Chief Reed taught me something when I was 10 years old. She said, be better than me. That's how we honor those who came before, by being better than they were." She finished treating the wounded soldier, then grabbed her rifle and provided covering fire while her team moved, just like Chief Reed had done, just like every medic should do when the mission requires it. Later, when someone asked if she felt pressure living up to her namesake's legacy, she smiled. Chief Reed didn't create a legacy for one person. She created a standard for all medics. Every time a medic runs into danger to save a teammate, every time we fight to keep our warriors alive, that's the legacy. It's not about one person or one 13-minute period. It's about what medics do every day in every fight. We save lives. We fight for our patients. We never quit. That's the standard Chief Reed set. That's the standard I'm proud to uphold. The legacy wasn't just remembered. It was lived every single day by every medic who refused to accept that saving lives meant staying safe. Thanks for watching. Every woman has a story worth telling. Join us to hear them.